you're going to be thinking, this is becoming a bit of a millstone.
73 seasons. Creek and Deacon.
There you go. That's it. You probably never far away. Brilliant. Well, look. Brilliant. Yeah, that's a vision I'm now not going to get out of my head. So you were doing Who's Line anyway, obviously other jobs as well.
There was a whole lot of other jobs in
I was going to say, otherwise it's a bit quiet between
You don't go right from Who's Line to Nashville. So
what were you doing in between? Fill in that gap for us.
Well, real quickly, first of all, there's the internet now, so you guys could probably do a better answer on your phones right now while I talk than I could do on my own. But there were shows like ER and The Office. I get to play the American version of The Office. Other shows like Big Love on HBO, and just each one lends itself to another. And it's just funny how that works, how you get, some shows end up vouching for you for other shows. Like I remember when I got on The Office, so many people loved The Office. It was a sort of industry favorite there. Certainly the British version, we all bow down. But the American version, it was a popular one there too. So I could suddenly feel the difference in the way people looked at you when they'd be looking at your resume, or as you call it, CV, and they'd say, "Oh, The Office." And they'd sort of look at you differently, and somehow that landed you other jobs, and then those jobs would land you other jobs. And I think it was putting those together that finally they thought that I could play this character Deacon. I think also, honestly, it was a matter of just having gotten old enough to play a character like that, where I was always the young, fresh-faced kid in anything I ever did.
That's why you grew the beard.
Yeah,
I've done this, otherwise we're both 12.
Yeah, you're just,
It's the only way.
No, that probably played a lot in. I remember when I got the call back on Nashville, it was, they want to see you back on Thursday, don't shave. I wasn't gonna.
That's fantastic.
That audition process, you haven't even asked, but let me just say.
Now this is the best thing for me. I can just get close to him, ladies and gentlemen, and listen to him talk, which is just the best way of doing it. Tell us.
It was.
See, get the question in.
It was stunning. First of all, I read that script and I saw Callie Curry had written it, and I was already a fan of hers from Thelma and Louise and some other things. And I knew that Connie Britton was playing Raina James, and I was already a fan of hers from Friday Night Lights. And I knew Hayden Panettiere was going to be in it, and I'd seen her in Heroes. And so, but it wasn't just that, it was reading this character, this guy, Deacon Claiborne, who had been through it all. And I understood this was going to be a very rich character, and somebody that got to suffer and got to triumph and got to fail again and got to play guitar, and it was the bang-on male lead. And it was a role that I had not had a role like this before, and I'd come close. But I thought maybe with the music and the fact that I could play a little guitar and sing and write, that I might have a better shot. So I went in that day, and we were to sing 2 songs, and we were to do a couple scenes, and with Callie Curry, and producer and casting director. And I remember one thing real quick, because I had a small guitar stand that I just bought, very tiny, compact, easily brought. So I go, I'll bring that. I never brought a guitar stand anywhere. So I just throw that in. And I go there, and first thing I do is I do my 2 scenes. So I go, I open up my little guitar stand and I put my guitar on it. And then I do my 2 scenes, and then it's time to sing the songs, and I play my 2 songs. And I remember when I leave the room, they were very kind. They already said then they wanted to see me again. And as I walked out the door, there's nobody out in the waiting room except one person. It's Hayden Panettiere, and she basically had her ear pressed to the door listening to music. And she steps away, and with that beautiful, enthusiastic face, just starts clapping, going, "That was so good!" And I'm like, "All right, this is the best audition I've ever had. Can you please come to all of my auditions?" Because I knew who she was. She didn't have a clue who I was, so she was just so warm and so kind. She just heard a song or two. And we talked for a second about it all, and she told me she was going in for Juliet, and I was like, well, go get it. And I was full of false bravado and just said, well, I'll see you on the set. And I was nowhere near landing this job yet. And I'll never forget that when we showed up on the set, she said, see you on the set. But looking back, one other thing I want to share was that Callie Curry later said, this was after I had the job, she said, you know, we saw couple hundred guys, and she goes, do you know you were the only guy that brought a guitar stand?
Well, perhaps, again, it could have been a budgetary thing. He's got a guitar. You don't have to hire any or anything like that. And he's got the guitar stand as well. This guy's the real deal.
Well, you got to remember with her, she is married to T-Bone Burnett, who has the deep love, appreciation of music, and has some fine guitars. Some guitars worth something. So when she would see these guys come in and lean their guitar against a chair or the wall while they're doing their scene, she's going... She's sure that guitar is going to fall over. And I think it was like, this is a guy that cares about his guitar. When in actuality, I was just a guy that bought a new guitar stand.
Well, it worked. You're going to have to frame that guitar stand. I owe my career to this, my guitar stand. When the series started, you've been casted and you sort of arrived. What expectations have you had? Because after all, you know, you're doing Nashville, a drama in Nashville with people like T-Bone Burnett, and there you are, you've got the whole of Nashville, which is, you know, let's face it, a bit of a serious music city, isn't it? Thinking, how are we going to manage this? Because we're under a microscope here, aren't we?
Well, you remember what I said earlier about throwing myself in the deep end. I find it kind of thrilling. I always did. The thrill of standing backstage before my first Whose Line Is It Anyway, when you know you're about to go out there with some of the funniest people in the world, it can either crush you or it can make you go, here we go. And it was a little bit of that. In the end, I know that all I can do is all I can do. So I knew that I had worked hard and I was working on the songs, and there's so many variables I couldn't control. Number one was I knew what a great actress Connie Britton was. What you can't know is whether you have chemistry with somebody. There's no knowing. I knew what great chemistry she had with Kyle Chandler on Friday Night Lights. To me, that's one of the great husband and wife portrayals in all of television ever. It's just so real. My wife and I used to watch that, and I would drive her nuts by hitting pause and going, beep, beep. Why can't I get scenes like that? I just want to act with somebody like that.
What does she say now?
What's that?
Keep your hands off that Raina Jane.
No, they're buddies. They're good friends. She understands the real from the unreal. But what we were happy to find out was there was some chemistry, and I knew going in that it was much better that there were two of us. She had an actual husband played by Eric Close, you know, Mayor Teddy on the show, and Eric and I had been friends for over 20 years. We'd been in the same acting class early on, which is why it was so easy later on to beat the hell out of each other. I'm serious. It's much easier to beat up someone you love, I've found. No, but
there's a lot of country songs about that.
We had such a great time doing there's one big fight scene we did right out on the lawn, right out in front of City Hall. It's not really fair to call it a fight scene. His security men beat me up, but we were banging hard on each other there, just fisticuffs and wrestling. And the next day we called each other like, how you feeling? Well, not too good. But anyway, I knew that it would take two guys to replace Kyle Chandler, so my husband and this other guy. I remember in Nashville, Eric used to introduce me at parties to people he knew to go, yeah, this is my buddy Chip. He plays my wife's boyfriend. So anyway, I come to find that, and I didn't really know, I knew how easy she was to act with. Connie Britton's so fantastic because she's very real and honest in her acting. So what that does is when you're acting with her, if you ever start doing something a little bit too actory, a little bit too, I don't know, Raina, I don't have to see. It feels really, really false, and you gotta kind of just strip it away and just be there and just talk to her, because that's what she's doing to such great effect. But the other thing I didn't know about is how the city would receive it. If anybody knows anything, whatever industry you're in, I don't care if you're in the newspaper industry or rock and roll or anything, or if you work in a pub, whenever you see it portrayed in a movie or a TV show, you're extra critical. You're kind of like, it's not like that at all, is it?
Yeah.
So
that's one of the things, definitely. There are certain films, we've done this on my show on Radio 2 before, it's those shows where actors are trying to play instruments, but they obviously can't. For instance, the Glenn Miller story. Bless him, James Stewart was not a trombonist. Have you seen,
neither was Glenn Miller.
He used to play as a trombonist.
I thought he was a clarinetist.
No. You're too country, Charles. This is the thing. There is other music out there.
All right, my fault. Well, I'm talking to BBC Two. I better shut up. You know.
If you want to only two things I know, I think. I'll try to remember the other film, but I can't remember it, you see, so we're even on that.
Let me tell you something about that. When we were on Nashville, one of the first things we ever did was we were on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry, and here's Raina James standing right back here, and then here's Deacon Claiborne standing right here playing guitar, and all around us are keyboard players and another guitar player and a bass player and a drummer. I figured, like you figured, they got a bunch of people off the street, extras, and they hung guitars on them. They were going to be like... But what we came to find out was these were actually some of the best musicians in Nashville. They were touring musicians. They toured with everybody from Faith Hill and Lee Greenwood and Alabama and on and on and on. So we were constantly turning to them and saying, is this right? How would we do this? What would happen here? And even wardrobe would steal from them because it would be like, my buddy who plays guitar said he was in a wardrobe, and she was like, what would that shirt look like tucked in? And he went, tucked in? She said, you wouldn't tuck it in? He said, I wouldn't tuck it in. She said, don't tuck it in.
It's keeping authentic, which is the most important thing, I suppose. And the fact is that the musicians have taken the show to heart. You know, I'm watching an episode with my wife when she goes, that's Brad Paisley. I go, yeah, Brad Paisley. It must be okay if Brad's going to be in it.
It's exactly like that. And somebody like Vince Gill, some very authentic people, even people at the Grand Ole Opry, what happened first is people would come up to us. Nashville has been portrayed with sort of that purely hee-haw mentality, so the people that lived in that town, the artists that would come and go, just don't make us look stupid. Can you do that? And I said, well, we're not going to do that. I mean, I do have a long piece of hay in my teeth. But aside from that, we were very authentic. No, I knew that we weren't doing that. We were making these people look very creative, very passionate, a little screwed up now and then, but we weren't doing that. So it was really a relief when the pilot came out and the episodes started showing, and they would come up and go, first they'd say, listen, man, we're so grateful that you're making this look like it is. Some of them would say that, some of the artists I heard would say it was actually kind of weird sometimes because they'd see something they had actually been through. They had sat in that room with that label head or with that co-writer or with that guitar player, and sometimes they said they would just hit pause and just sort of go, and they wondered, do you have spies, or how did you know that? And it wasn't spies, it's just that Callie Curry had lived there for many years. She told me she would sit at tables with these brilliant musicians and she didn't play a note. And it would go through her head, I know why they're here. Why am I here? And it was all these years later that it was like, that's why I was there. And so she was able to bring these things alive, and our writing staff, of course, in a way that might be the most gratifying thing of all, that the people that live that life embrace the show.
Because the authenticity is also down to the sheer horror of the music industry at some point, isn't it? Let's face it, because there's an awful lot of nasty stories that occurred where people get sort of rolled over by record companies.
Yeah, there's a song we